Only a week ago, the Prime Minister was facing one of the worst campaign lead-ins for an incumbent in memory. He was being called a bully and worse by those on his own side of politics. His own messy 2007 preselection battle was back in the headlines. And time was running out to call the election. What a difference firing the starter's gun and shifting into campaign mode has made. That, and Anthony Albanese's extraordinary Day 1 blunder. Scott Morrison entered the campaign knowing his personal popularity was a problem, hence his pleas not to make this a referendum on his performance. As one pollster notes, soft voters have been turning against Morrison, and it's hard to win them back once they've judged a leader's character. The Prime Minister needed to reframe the contest. He acknowledged his own unpopularity. This election, he suggested, was not about him. M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. Watch 2 minutes 32 seconds 2 minutes and 32 seconds Scott Morrison visits bushfire-ravaged electorate of Gilmore. He rolled out the more popular Josh Frydenberg and Maurice Payne to stand by his side. And on areas of policy vulnerability, like aged care, Morrison even suggested bipartisanship, borrowing the line his opponent often uses on national security. The Morrison campaign also went on the offensive. The Prime Minister popped up in Labor-held marginal seats, Gilmore, Macquarie, Parramatta and Corangamite. No defensive sandbagging in Liberal seats, yet. This was partly a show of early bravado and partly a reflection of the reality that the coalition's only chance of winning is to take seats from Labor wherever it can, given the inevitable loss of some of its own. Parliament, power and payouts. Morrison appears more comfortable campaigning than he often does governing. He pivots with ease from an uncomfortable question to the headline message he wants to deliver. Albanese, by contrast, is yet to strike the right balance between exhaustive, detailed answers and punchy slogans. The opening days of the campaign weren't all smooth sailing for the Prime Minister. Alan Tudge, we learned, is still in cabinet, despite the Prime Minister only last month saying he was not seeking a return to the front bench. It appears Tudge will return to cabinet duties once the scrutiny of an election campaign has passed, and if the coalition wins a fourth term. More curiously, News.au revealed Tudge's former press secretary Rochelle Miller is on track to receive a taxpayer-funded payout of at least $500,000. For what, it is unclear. If the minister did no wrong, why such a large settlement? The Prime Minister says he has no visibility on private matters between Miller and the Finance Department. Voters are left to wonder, once again, about the culture of Parliament, power, and payouts. It was Anthony Albanese, however, who lost week 1 on day 1. The Labor leader's failure to know the most important statistic in politics, and instead take a wild stab in the dark hurt for many reasons. Unemployment was the very measure Labor itself set as the biggest test of the government's economic management during the pandemic. The number of people in work underpins everything from wage growth to the budget bottom line. Australia is not the only country enjoying historically low unemployment thanks to the billions pumped into the economy and record low interest rates during COVID, but it's still an impressive achievement. It's the government's strongest asset. M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. Watch 13 seconds 13 as the opposition leader could not list the unemployment and cash rates. Gaffes, gotchas, and cold political calculations. Every campaign has its gaffes and gotchas, but Albanese in that Monday moment looked genuinely ill-prepared for the level of scrutiny leaders face once the contest formally begins. The brain freeze fed directly into criticism. Labor spent 3 years kicking Scott Morrison without coming up with its own plans. And it kept the focus where Morrison wants it, on macro-economic strengths rather than micro-kitchen table concerns. Some of the reactions from within Labor to Albanese's gaffe are too colourful to print. Everyone knew this was a damaging blow. Witness the efforts to immediately apologise, to make a virtue of accepting mistakes, and the repeated references to Albanese having studied economics at university. Anthony Albanese at the first Labour rally of the 2022 federal election campaign. Most in Labour are confident the leader will learn quickly from the bruising experience and sharpen up. Yesterday, Albanese kept his press conference noticeably tighter as he shifted to a modest health promise aimed at easing the real pressures on public hospitals. In a campaign bereft of big, transformative, post-pandemic plans from either side, missteps and mistakes will attract greater prominence. So too will decisions not to do something, like increase unemployment benefits. Labour had built up expectations it would at least review the rate of job seeker. It backed a Greens motion in Parliament to raise the rate at least above the poverty line. Now Albanese says, we can't do everything given the circumstance in which we are in. Labour can, however, afford the Stage 3 tax cuts, which will deliver an extra $9,000 a year to high-income earners. The job seeker decision is based on the cold political calculation that promising an increase for the unemployed won't help Labour win the election. Backing the Stage 3 tax cuts will. Perhaps this pragmatism will work, but surely it would have been wiser to clear this up well before the heat of a campaign. Wise heads on both sides know things will calm down after the flurry of the first few days, and many disengaged voters still aren't tuned in. The Easter break will be a chance to regroup and reassess. The contest looks closer now than it did only a week ago. David Speers is the host of Insiders, which airs on ABC TV at 9 a.m. on Sunday, or on iView, and a co-presenter of Q&A.